So today we're going to go over the area of a triangle. So the first thing we need to know is the formula. The formula to find the area of the triangle or a triangle is A. A stands for area. Area is equal to 1/2 times base times height. I'm going to put dots in between those so we don't get confused. Remember that the dots mean multiply. And another good thing to remember is when we multiply by 1/2, we're really dividing by 2. Okay, so when we divide by 2, we're splitting something in half. We're splitting it 2 ways. Okay, so you can either think what's half of the number, or you can just go ahead and divide it by 2. So you can also rewrite this formula as area is equal to base times height, and that's all over 2. It's divided by 2. So remember another thing, the fraction bar means division. Okay, so area is equal to base times height divided by 2. So all we have to do when we find area is get our formula, and we got that. And then we just have to plug in the numbers and solve. So it's really quite simple. But first, we need to make sure we know what the base is. So remember, the base is always going to be a flat side, something that your shape can sit on. So for this instance, our base here is right here, and that's 5 inches. So when I rewrite my formula, I do area is equal to, our base is 5, and our height. So when we talk about height and when we're measuring an object, usually when we get a measuring tape and we're measuring an object, we usually measure it from the base or wherever the object is sitting on to the very tallest point that the object is. We want to know how tall is the object. Just like when you're at the doctor's office, they ask you to stand flat on your feet to measure your height. So it's the same thing. We want to measure from the lowest point, which is the base, to the tallest point, which is basically the pointy part of the triangle, or the tallest pointy part. So another thing, usually the height is always going to be the dotted line, so that's something to remember. This number over here was just extra information. We didn't need that. So we really have 5 times 2, and we can't forget that we're dividing it by 2. I'm using this formula right here. Okay, so we're going to do the correct order of operations. So parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division from left to right, and addition and subtraction from left to right. So we don't have any parentheses. There are no exponents. So now we're at multiplication and division. So we're just going to do it in order. So our first thing is multiplication. 5 times 2. Okay, so 5 times 2 is 10. So we now have 10 divided by 2, which is the same thing as 10 on the inside and 2 on the out, and we get 5. So our answer is 5 inches squared. I'm using inches because that was the unit of measurement here. It's squared because that's how many squares can fit inside this triangle, okay? It's a 2D object, so we use squared. So our answer is 5 inches squared.